Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. My name is Mariah Almonte. I'm your host for today, and as a co-host we have Ken Demers, Bill Hannon, and our very special guest is Joanna Alberti. And funny thing is we're going to talk about health and healing and how she has healed herself through her diet choices. And perhaps a few other things. I met Ivana when we were, just by circumstance, in a restaurant, a vegan restaurant in Providence. And I saw this bubbly little girl taking photographs, and we kind of like went, so who is this woman? And so we started talking, and the whole place was so friendly and so lovable, and I knew that we had hit on something. So I asked Ivana to be on the show, and she has graciously accepted. So, Ivana, the first thing perhaps you could tell us about, maybe a little background as to what you were, maybe, would you, if that feels comfortable to you, what you were, and then we can maybe transcend into who you are today.
Are we talking energy right now?
We're talking, you had arthritis.
Yes.
Yes. So you were seeing doctors.
Yes.
Many doctors, and they were prescribing many types of things to you.
Okay.
We could start with that.
Okay. So in that moment when we were in Plant City, I was very excited to see all the variety of all the food products we may possibly want: yogurt, cheese, pasta, any type of meat. You got the ricotta, the mozzarella, the cheddar, everything you, chocolate, bakery, everything. And I was just so mesmerized and happy and felt very grateful to be just in front of that and just seeing everything so accessible. And I know that this is the start of something very beautiful for the environment, for the animals, and for people's health. And like you said, the vibes of the place were so inviting for everybody, and I just felt the abundance and wanted to share it, felt completely compelled to share it. And that was the moment we met. And so what brought me there is, at 10 years old, I started seeing deformities in my hands. I was a gymnast. I've been doing gymnastics since I was 4, and then until 15. But at 10, I started seeing deformities, and I didn't understand what was going on. My friends were making fun of my witchy hands. But when we're children, we don't really care that much about appearance, which is a beautiful thing, but not so beautiful. We don't really much care about health, so we just eat impulsively, and it just starts from a very young age. But I never associated my eating habits with my well-being and just my flexibility, my ability to recover after working out, or even getting hurt, falling off from the bike, whatever it was. And it was at 16 when I started waking up with unbelievable amount of pain in all of my joints, particularly my fingers and my ankles, and started developing gout in the bunions, which is the very important bone that sustains our weight and makes you able to walk properly or even want to dance, which is something else I love to do.
What was the other thing?
Dancing.
Dancing, okay.
Yes, particularly Latin dance. I am very, very drawn, and like my soul just comes through 100% when I'm dancing or singing. And it stopped being a possibility when I was 18. So I started going to doctors, and my mom was the one who started getting into vegetarianism because she was healing cancer levels or reducing them by taking away the meats. And she was still doing dairy and eggs at the moment, but she was seeing improvement in her well-being and in her blood work. So she shared that with me, and I was, of course, in the beginning like, okay, let's see about that. And my only thought was, but if they're already dead, the animals in front of me, why would I waste that food? Why would I not want it? Or why would I boycott it? So I just literally started Googling my own questions, finding my own answers for all the things I just developed a curiosity for it. And I allowed myself to learn about the environmental facts, the ethical implications of it, and the health implications of this diet that I never questioned, that I was passed on to with love because it's tradition.
The meat-eating diet.
Yes, yes. Just a diet very heavy in animal products and very low in fruits and veggies, particularly raw. And I realized that once I started adding new products or new food combinations into my lifestyle, I started realizing it wasn't that hard because we got the internet, which I know it's a fairly new thing maybe for some people, and that's totally okay. But I guess I took advantage of what the resources I had in front of me, and I realized that I just didn't want to be part of that diet anymore, and I just started feeling more drawn to leaving the meats, connecting with farm animals, and eventually I started seeing improvement and inevitably noticeable improvement in my well-being, in the flexibility of my joints. I was starting to do handstands again. This was at 22 because I started getting into veganism at 21 after I hit rock bottom because I woke up at 3 a.m. in November of August 2017 with unbelievable pain in all of my body. I felt like a statue and I needed to go urinate and I couldn't just get up because my back, my feet, and my hands were completely locked. And it felt like a horror movie, okay? I really don't wish that upon anybody. And I feel like it was my refusal to look for this information earlier that led me to that point. For sure, there may be some genetic predisposition in my body for chronic inflammation when it comes to eating certain products, which in my case were animal products. And until I just started literally becoming more aware of how I was feeling with what I was eating, that was what led me to the change. And so fast forward here in Plant City, I'm just so grateful to have come far because now I realize we don't even need vegan animal imitation products to be a healthy vegan. And I understand that this lifestyle may not be for all perceptions, but I just suggest for everybody to allow themselves to listen or look up some new information that may challenge their beliefs. When it comes to that's the health aspect, if you want to. I have more of my experience on the spiritual wisdom part of it.
Well, maybe we can.
But I would love to hear some.
Well, first question,
feedback.
what's the name of the restaurant again?
Plant City.
Plant City.
100%
It's in
recommended.
Providence.
In Providence.
Yes.
Okay, never heard of it.
20-minute right away from
It's
here.
a complex. The different restaurants.
Whereabouts is it?
Providence, down.
Where?
I forget the exact
Providence is kind
address,
of
but I
big
got
place.
No, what's it near?
But what's it
Yeah.
near? It used to be the Barn Cider, I guess, down around there, near the Point Street Bridge.
Okay, that I know.
Kind of the Point Street Bridge.
Sure.
Yeah,
Very good.
South Main Street.
Okay, go back to the spiritual stuff. That's kind of what,
it's all about.
well, that's what I'm interested in. So.
Okay, that's all right. I understand. The spiritual aspect to the plant-based diet, in my opinion and in my experience, has been that I was not that aware that I had an inclination towards depth and authenticity and being raw and allowing raw without so much judgment. I wasn't like that. I didn't have that mentality before I changed my diet. It felt like my life was only about eating and talking to family about the same dialogues. So for years, it felt like I didn't evolve in my personal goals or feel like I was advancing or becoming more true to myself, I was just stagnant. But I did enjoy my chicken and rice with fried plantains and you know, some veggie, maybe.
We have to tell everybody that you're from Venezuela.
Oh, yes,
So
that's
there's
important.
plenty of beef down in Venezuela.
Yes, and what I've found so far from what I've heard and experienced is that no matter the nationality, we've all grown eating animal products, and that's been the norm, but it's because of government interest. So there may be energies outside that do not want us to evolve, and it made sense to me only after I felt forced to change my diet by the pain. So I started listening to spiritual masters on the whole diet approach, and the dots connect when your digestive system, which is directly connected to the pineal gland, is clear and not so busy on digesting dense flesh or byproducts that are acidic and have a thickening effect on the blood. So the thickness of the blood is determined by the quality of the food we eat, whether that's alkaline or acidic,
yeah.
which are the two ends of the spectrum of what the blood's pH should be, which should be in the middle. There should be a balance. 7.5, 7.2, something like this.
7.2 to 7.4 is pretty much what they look for.
Yeah.
But the body is a master as far as maintaining
Balance, homeostasis.
So if you're having a diet that's rich in acidic foods, your body will rob your calcium from your bones.
Exactly, will make your bones leach calcium.
And or even zinc from the prostate or the uterus. It's just drawing that out.
From their vitality to
Exactly, and so what
compensate.
happens? Exactly, so you're actually weakening your skeletal and your organ system by
and the immune system
Right,
overall,
right.
our ability to recover from viruses, bacteria, illness, injuries, or even acidic emotions. Emotions can also be acidic. So thanks to my mom, I started developing this curiosity for holistic health, holistic wellness, looking at the human as a whole, not only what we eat, but also all types of consumerism, visual, hearing-wise, just cognitive and intellectual, physical, even the cosmetic products we use. It's all interconnected. It's like a domino effect. And I feel like we may be disadvantaged physically because of the society we've grown up in, and there are many toxic factors outside: radiation, poor quality food, poor quality air, maybe some fluoride in the water, like a list of things. And that may put us in disadvantage, but I feel like the only thing that we have full control of is the food that we eat, and we should never be ashamed or uncomfortable when we talk about food, because food is sacred. Food is amazing. It's what nourishes us, and it's just one type of nourishment. We should never be feeling, in my opinion, uncomfortable when talking about the most important ingredient of the food that we eat today in a rich animal product diet. The main ingredient, the first one that no one wants to talk about because it's very taboo and heavy for the soul, is murder.
Is what?
Murder.
Murder, okay.
Murder. I'm going to kill you.
Okay.
And then eat you.
Truth is, most of us don't like talking about it because we don't associate with the frequency that comes with the word murder. But there's no sugarcoating it. That we can call it slaughter, we can call it many other things, but it is uncomfortable. Like, I feel it in my chest right now. It's not desirable for anybody to think we've participated in something that we probably do not agree with at some point, at some level. And I just felt like there was a connection in my life. I felt like there was a connection between that frequency that I didn't want to embrace. But it was so important in my life, so determining of what I thought was my well-being, and now my life was kind of forcing me to
evolve.
Yeah, because what the doctors, pharmaceutical, traditional approach doctors told me, and I visited over 15 doctors, professionals, you know, people in their third age who seemed to have a lot of experience, and I trust they have, but their conclusion about me at 20 years old, hopeless, was continue being hopeless because we only have these two things for you: immunosuppressants in the form of pills and injections, and you gotta do them for a lifetime. And if you don't do this, then you're on your own, because we know best, and we have studied for decades, and we're wearing this white robe.
Yeah.
And there was a very uncomfortable, negative vibe, in my opinion, not only because of the message, but because of the way that it transmitted it. This was my perception in the moment, and it was some superiority, never question authority kind of vibe. I know best, and if you don't want to abide, then you know this appointment is only 15 minutes anyway.
And you're going to die.
And most of them interrupted me many times while I was expressing what I was going through, and sometime after taking their medications, when I was explaining the secondary effects, they got defensive, personally defensive, when I was talking about the medicines that they had given me, not about them. And it was a pattern that I saw in all of these professionals from different countries: Venezuela, Miami, and different cities here in the US, Boston, and even France. In Antibes, I went there. So I don't want for anybody to wait to touch rock bottom to look into their lifestyle choices and seeing how that may or may not be contributing to pain, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. And I don't know, I thought that was a super interesting topic.
If you meet somebody, like as we speak, my hands are stiff.
Okay.
So I'm not a good example. But you meet somebody else on the street that's going to be maybe more accepting of what you're saying or open-minded, what would you have them do? If there's somebody starting to develop rheumatism, which is fairly common, I would think. I mean, they tell me I have it, but I don't pay attention to it. I just live. But if there's somebody that's really affected by it, what do you want them to do? What would you suggest that they do?
The first thing?
Start from the beginning.
The first and most important thing, in my opinion, and it's hard for the other approaches, holistic approaches, to catch up to the healing that we're talking about without doing this, is eliminating animal products. We can do a program where this can be done gradually or not. I've met many people who have had different experiences with how they came into veganism and why. And not everybody is responsive to the same things, so it would be a tailored program. And this is what I want to specialize now, arthritis reversal coaching, based on my own experience.
You're hoping to have that as an occupation.
Exactly. That's my hope.
Your desire, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And I'm finishing university right now, and I intend on doing more courses and classes, specializing in holistic health, nutritional science.
I'll throw something out to you. I've read that we've deteriorated a lot in the last 5,000 years. In the 1700s, before the American Indians were contaminated by the European society, there was a French priest that was living with, I think it was the Algonquins or one of the people up in that area, and he did a record of everything that his host families ate for a year. And they were using 500 and some odd different foods We use about 25.
That's right. That's right.
So,
That's one of the things that
you know,
that's actually been proven over years is that you should eat from during the course of the year. You should eat maybe 250, 300 different actual foods.
could we
Whole
find that
Foods?
many in our society?
Well, the thing is, it's amazing if you go into some of these international stores compared to what we have in our
Grocery store.
Stop and Shop or something like that. It's very different. It's very different. And I'm sure that if my son's girlfriend, Natalie, she is a Philippine, Guatemalan type of thing, where she is able to introduce us to different, like you mentioned, the plantains. She introduced
Okay.
us to plantains.
You didn't
Other-
know about plantains?
Well, I knew about plantains because I saw them on Seinfeld.
That's the funny bananas.
All right? All right? So that's the only thing I knew about plantains is that wild-haired guy always wanted his plantains, you know?
All right.
But the thing is that, she showed us the way to cook them, to prepare them, and different cheeses that they used, and it was just very interesting. But to get along more on the line of what nutrition does for you is that the plants basically are more alkali, like we were talking before. And to incorporate the plants into our diet more than we usually use them, it's just so interesting to see over the years how incorporating an alkali diet into your system will slowly allow your body to change.
The genes.
Now,
Right, the genes, the genetic structure can actually,
Change your body, epigenetics.
right, and it always goes from your genes, the DNA to the RNA to the protein. It never goes the other way. So, it's very important to understand that and to give your body the nutrients it needs. And I was just watching one of these shows on PBS about this guy on National Geographic photographer who's gone all around the world throughout his life photographing all these indigenous peoples. And he came up with 5 different locations where they all seem to live over 100 years old, many of the people, and even people in the 80s or 90s are still very viable, and they're not, using walkers and canes and stuff like this. They're out there in the fields. And he found the similarities of green leafy vegetables. Beans and rice make up the complete protein. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. There were 4 groups that they had mentioned.
Even the
Okay.
world. Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
you're talking about alkaline and acidy foods. I guess that's what you called it.
Acidic foods. Yeah.
How does somebody out in the real world, they pick up, we know that a tomato is going to be acidy, but
Yeah.
we pick up an apple. Is that acidy or is alcohol? How do people find out what they're eating?
They
So
gotta
they-
research it.
Well,
Well, something like that.
is there a sauce?
There's a malic acid in it, but the malic acid is
In what?
in the apples.
Okay.
And that actually helps your body neutralize. There's some acids that are on the cusp, like lemons, apple cider vinegar, and the malic acid that's in apples help your body break down crystals. That's why your hands hurt, your feet hurt when you get up in the morning. It's hard to walk. Your knees ache.
Accumulation of uric acid in the
Now,
joints.
Right.
The apple cider vinegar,
Yeah.
I've heard that, my parents used to
decades.
take it.
Yeah.
That was good for the rheumatism. Is that part of your system?
I have yet to make a decision on that. I have yet to study more about the wellness that ACV can give us,
Right.
apple cider vinegar. I use it mainly for cleaning. I used
use
to
it
drink it a
yourself?
lot, but not enough time to know how I was feeling. So there's a way that we come into any dietary changes, and in my experience, that has been fasting and intermittent fasting.
Intermittent
It is a
fasting.
very, very interesting topic.
Right.
Of course, it's challenging for anybody coming into it. Our society does not teach us about fasting. That's another taboo topic for many. But it's very, very interesting what a couple hours of starvation can do to the body
Sure.
in terms of benefits, because inflammation goes down. That's the first thing that the body is eating. Inflammation, fat, and
Right.
of course you're gonna feel weakness and discomfort in the beginning.
Well,
It's a
yes.
detox. Detox is really uncomfortable, but the afterwards sensation is of vitality, lightness, mental clarity, decongestion, flexibility in the joints.
Yes, more
That's the only
strength.
time I'm able
More
to do
strength.
handstands after like
But it's
2 days of
amazing
that.
also, most people have the train of thought in their mind that, if I don't eat, I'm going to get weak. And in actuality,
Right.
I actually am stronger.
In the third day,
And
that's my
probably
case.
a societal thing too that you were talking about, that you need to eat, you need so much
Right.
protein, you need so much milk, you need
It's a myth.
right, and but that's based on, what is that based on?
Right.
It's based on the economy.
Political interest,
Commerce.
economic
Yes.
It's all
interest,
commerce.
lobbyists
Well, the
for animal
fasting
agriculture.
lets the body cleanse itself.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, when you're fasting, what happens, and most people aren't aware of this, is that your body now actually recycles a lot of the proteins, breaks it down, and reconstitutes it into new proteins and new muscle. Also, the hormones, your hormones in your body. After a fast, let's say, and you don't eat after 6 o'clock at night, and you get up in the morning and you're out the door, and then you realize noontime, crap, I haven't even eaten 18 hours.
And I feel good.
But the thing is, that's
We've
what's
got
actually
3 minutes.
Yes,
3 minutes. Okay.
Your hormones actually pick up. Your body actually starts producing more testosterone and estrogen. The hormones, everything's coming into balance, and your organs are now starting to work the way they should. So it's just amazing on a little bit of intermittent fasting and a keto diet and things like this, how you can turn your life around.
I haven't been able to break the habit of thinking, oh, it's time to eat now, and so it's well, being Italian and liking food.
You've practiced it?
I practice being Italian, yes,
Yes.
by eating and thinking, oh, it's 12 o'clock or whatever. But again, I've been indoctrinated.
Yeah.
Well,
I've been domesticated.
Here's a story that happened to me.
Well, we just got a couple minutes left, so.
Yeah, but
30 years ago, I was in massage school, and I had like 6 months to go, and I left.
Okay.
The next day, I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't put my hands in my pockets. I couldn't do anything. My hands just were, I couldn't pick up a dime.
Okay.
I couldn't move my hands.
Okay.
So I didn't know what to do. So I called up a friend of mine, Angelica Redleaf, a chiropractor.
Oh, yeah, right, Roger.
And I said-
Angelica and not Roger.
I
right.
said, what should I do? And she says, fast. So for 3 days, I didn't eat anything, and my hands were fine. And then many years later, because I deal with people that talk to people that aren't physical, I asked what was going on with my hands at that time, and what I was told was that my inner child was so upset with me for
Leaving
stopping
the massage school.
massage school
Yeah,
that it made me not able to use my hands.
right.
so
But it
okay,
was
with that,
going that fast. It came
with
that fast and it went that
we
fast.
have to wrap up. Thank you for that. Thank you for all your stories. But
But
we've
how
got
do we
like
get in touch
We need
with
a
you?
3-hour episode.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just
But
that-
how do we get in touch with you? Is there,
right now, it's gonna have to be still email and phone number because I'm creating my social
Quick.
media still.
yeah, what's your email? Do you want people to get in touch with you?
Yes, my email is IALBERTI. So my initial Ivana and
Yep.
then Alberti
Yep, okay.
@hotmail.com.
Okay, great. Good.
Say it again.
Ivana Alberti. That's my name and last name. My email is ialberti@.